But regardless, I mean, if a Terry Sawchuk Detroit jersey walked into the room and it was fairly priced, I wouldn't ask if we need it or not. I'd just buy it. Because I have a personal collection as well, so I always have the ability to buy it for my personal collection. If the company needs it, move it over. I have the very, very infamous Bobby Orr story that a number of years ago when we signed Bobby Orr, I had a jersey in my collection and it was time to cut up a Bobby Orr jersey, and I was at this show. So Bobby's hasn't been with us for about 2 years, and I had him for 2 years. This got to be about 4 or 5 years ago. And I looked around and there was a couple Orr jerseys at the show, and we didn't like them. We didn't like the size on them, and so at the end of the day, we took a look at some auctions that were held for Bobby Orr jerseys, and I sold mine across for the value of the jersey at the time we cut up my jersey. Shortly after, Leland's had an auction and one went for $125,000. I'm going to tell you what I sold mine to the company for was a third of that. So sometimes when I sell them across to the company, it's not such a good thing for me. Yeah. And that Orr was one of them. But so there was a jersey that came in here yesterday that I'm negotiating now that we don't need yet. We don't have the player signed. So I'll buy it for my personal collection, and if in fact we sign the player and I can't find another one of that player, then I'll sell it across. So we're always looking, we're always buying, and excuse me, they'll tell me, I'll get an email saying we're on fumes. And when we're on fumes, we start opening cards that are in customer service, but that's my sort of signal to either get another guy or we can't do his cards for a little while, get another piece of memorabilia or we can't use it for a while. I try to avoid that.
And this next question comes from our member FlyersFan597, and he says, Dr. Price, one of my favorite sets in the game has put out was the 2005-06 Tough Customers Super Box. While this set did include a couple of more well-known minor league enforcers, Yowles and Goldthorpe, are there any plans to put a similar subset in one of the upcoming in-the-game products, such as Heroes and Prospects, or would highlight any other minor leaguers that you have signed, such as Dennis Bonzi?
Well, I don't know if you remember, if you're at that show, we had those two guys in our booth signing for when we did the Tough Customers. We had Frank the Animal was in our booth, and Goldie Goldthorpe came to our booth, and he signed, I forget what, if you bought one, brought it to the booth, he signed something or other, a picture or the box or whatever. I love to do a standalone set again. It has a very limited market, but the people in that market are passionate, and I like to add to the list of guys we had. I like to add Ty Domi and a few others, and so I think you'll see another Tough Customers, not inside another product, probably another standalone sooner rather than later.
Because I know those Tough Customer sets, they always sell very popular.
You know what? They were well priced. As I say, the market's limited, but just like our Between the Pipes, just like our goalie products, the people that collect it are passionate. And so the Tough Customers was interesting, and I think that I'm going to probably, the Tough Customer set was licensed. It was when I had my license. Not having a license now, I can probably make the Tough Customer set a little more tough, if you know what I mean. I had restrictions on the images I could use back then, which I wouldn't have right now. So if as and when I do it again, there'll be a lot more seeing red, if you know what I mean.
That should be very interesting.
I had to get the red out of the other set. And yet the funny part is the league, when you look at their commercials, they're promoting, I mean, all the highlight reels are promoting tough, physical hockey, and yet it's sort of, they don't want to talk about it. It's like,
yeah, leaning more towards more skill set.
Yes, I understand. Zero.
Back to Zero. So this question comes from Zero. He said, of all the set ideas that have been brought before you, what is your favorite one that did not take off?
I thought about this. I read the question yesterday. I gotta believe the 2002 Olympic set I wanted to do. And as it turned out, we won the gold medal. It would have been phenomenal. Most of the players, a lot of the players in the Olympics were in the NHL, and so therefore my PA license would have worked. But it fell apart based on licensing. You needed the NHL, you needed the NHLPA, you needed the IIHF, you needed the Olympic IOC, and then even when you had And even when you had all of them, you still had to go to each hockey federation. So it was so much licensing, I just couldn't do it. I called the Czechs, and because we had a relationship at the time with Peter Inachek, the former Maple Leaf, so he knew somebody. He called up, and the Czech said, "How much are you paying the Russians?" I said, "Well, we called you first." "Well, call us back after you tell us what you're paying the Russians." So I figured if the Czechs won't know what the Russians and the Swedes won't know what the Finns, it just fell apart. But we had some great designs, and at the end of the day, it would have been a 2002 Olympic hockey set, and Canada would have won. And that's the one I regret never making, but it just couldn't happen.
Any chance we could see a set like that going up for the 2010?
No, nothing has changed. No one gets the complete package of rights to try and market, and that's why you really never see Olympic cards. If there are any, they're totally unlicensed and illegal. And I may be unlicensed, but I don't want to be illegal.
And this question comes from Bernier96, and he wants to know, if in the game were to regain an NHL license, would you keep the popular Heroes and Prospects set?
Yeah, the Heroes and Prospects would have to change, though, because right now we have, in Heroes and Prospects, we have current players and future players, and the NHL and the PA still have a restriction on commingling. So I would think that what would have to happen is we would probably just have to change that to a prospect set, because the heroes would all have to be retired heroes. But the answer is yes, because again, we've got a group of heroes and prospects collectors out there that are just, second to none. They're there every time we issue a product. And so I wouldn't want to give up on them. We'll just keep doing it. So I guess what I'd have to do is all my heroes would have to then be retired players, so I wouldn't have that commingling. But I got to tell you guys, I don't think licensing is happening.
That's disappointing to hear.
It's more than disappointing to hear. No matter which way I approach this thing, it's just obvious that the two licensors do not care about the hobby. It doesn't matter to them whatsoever. It's all dollars and cents. Simple as that.
Well, if we can take any positive out of it, it's always enjoyable to break up from the norm. I love busting the minor league products, and I know many people do.
I gotta tell you, we're gonna keep knocking on the door. We're not sure when the exclusive is over, because the PA started a year before the NHL. We're not sure the NHL even knows about that year. We're not positive when it's over. We're going to start knocking on the door. We're going to try and elicit collector assistance, but I don't think it matters. I really don't. And for all we don't know, Upper Deck may have signed an extension on that agreement already. We don't know. I mean, we're the last people that they're going to talk to. I mean, if you look at it, that the NHL and the NHLPA didn't care that for one whole season their fans couldn't see a hockey game. And that didn't seem to bother them. It was all about money. Do they really care about collectors? Are they even here at the show?
That's a very true but sad point.
It is. So, my passion and my big mouth starts to get me into trouble sometimes. That's just the way it is. But I was partners with the NHLPA. They were involved in the Be a Player brand. And when it came right down to it, when they saw that there was going to be a lockout, they just took the big money. So I don't know if that's ever going to change.
And now for the final question, and the question everyone's dying to know: will there be another superlative?